Hello, beautiful human. Welcome to the Sagittarius Crosswatchers only reading. I am Princess India. If you're new and if you're family, welcome back, my friend, and whatnot, or whatever. Like, share, subscribe. Okay, anyway, welcome to your reading. I am hella late, but I'm throwing these in the last few that I had in between recording you guys soul sessions for March. As most of you guys know, I've been working on the Wokebook, which I'm waiting for the printing company to give me the final A-OK for it to be available on Amazon. So the link for that will be below if it's up by the time, I finish recording this video and stuff. But that's the reason why they're late. But I'm not just telling you that just to tell you about my life. You know what I'm saying? I say all of that to say that this reading usually would have covered for February, but it's going to cover, because we're in the last week of February, so it's going to cover for that last week of February, last 2 weeks of February, into the beginning parts of March. So if you aren't familiar with what these are, the readings that I do for people who are attempting to cross watch on a Sagittarius person. So that means you'd be dating in a situationship, relationship, or something along those lines with a Sagittarius person. And you find yourself in a strange kind of situation where you need some answers in reference to this person. You know what I'm saying? So we're doing that to give a little insight. So first cards we're looking at is your energy, cross watcher, and then we're going into the Sagittarius person's energy. And of course, in the extended on my new network, pretty sure you heard of it. Maybe you didn't, but now you're hearing about it. We're going to look at how this person thinks as well as feels about you. You know what I'm saying? So anywho, enough of the chit chat. First card for you, cross watcher. We have, whoa, okay. The Eight of Swords. Interesting. Then we have the Queen of Chalices. And then we have the Eight of Pentacles. That's interesting. Okay, first thing that comes to my mind with this cross watcher, you guys in reference to the Sag person. With this Queen of Cups, the first impression I got from this is, I just want to love you. Just let me love you. You know what I'm saying? I just want to love you, But with this Eight of Swords, it's more or less a descent that I'm seeing that's occurring now. If I were to kind of step into your energy for a second and kind of say it from your perspective to make it make sense, right? It's more or less, and this would be me backtracking, pulling from past energy. This would be the equivalent of someone that you're dating, that's a Sag. Their behavior hasn't necessarily been great, you know what I mean? They're not a perfect person, but, none of us are. But it's more or less that your stance that you took up until this point, so up until like somewhere around February, the stance that you took is like holding space for the person. So it's being loving, it's being nurturing, it's being caring in spite of, things that they did, not necessarily saying that you let them treat you like a doormat per se, but you've held space for them and been understanding, because it's almost a level of their, I'm gonna stop censoring myself. I'm just gonna start saying first word that comes to my mind. It's a level of their dysfunction that you're aware of, right? So an example of this would be, say hypothetically, this person, I don't know, lost both of their parents in like a tragic fire or something when they were a child, right? So they have abandonment issues. And you know that this person is like afraid of opening up to people, or that's your perception of it, is like their fear of opening up or getting close to people is because they lost their parents in this fire, like back in, 79 or something, So it's you trying to hold space and to show this person like a form of like unconditional love, like no matter how, many less than stellar choices you make, or how much you try to run, or how much you try to push me away, I'm gonna like stand in the gap and hold space, and I'm gonna show you that I'm not gonna leave you like everyone else, and I'm gonna love you in spite of, type of deal. That's kind of the vibe that I got, right? However, when we look at the energy now with this Eight of Swords, is more or less feeling kind of stuck, because it's like you held that space and took that stance with this person because you were under the impression that if you were to stand in the gap and hold space, this person would realize, you know, what your intentions were, like, wow, you know, this person never left and abandoned me like everyone else did. And it's like, you know, I leave and I come back and I treat them like this and I do this and that. And, you know, they're still here supporting me and loving me. And they have the light bulb moment. They turn around and they like embrace you and you live happily ever after, you know? It's more or less coming to the realization that that hasn't happened yet. You know what I'm saying? And now it's more or less a descent from that particular mindset and going to the other side of the proverbial Likert scale, like into like a more reality-based sensory consciousness. And it's feeling like this sense of entrapment of, you kind of follow the right schematic or formula, but the person's behaviors still aren't changing. You know what I mean? So it's still being in this sense of, I wouldn't necessarily say you guys are still making gestures per se. I would say that how this would be showing up, and this is me looking at this Eight of Swords and this Eight of Pentacles, is like how it's kind of showing up is because, and this is a theme for everybody, like all the signs I've done prior to you, you guys more or less retreating back into yourself, right? And like, I don't really so much see the whole passive aggression thing, but it's you just kind of like numbing out, you know, because it's not understanding why taking that stance didn't work, because like perspective wise, that was like the right or the empathic or the godly thing to do, right? But the thing that I'm seeing here, and I haven't turned over their other cards, so I'm kind of treading lightly with this, because I don't want to repeat myself, honestly, if this ends up coming up in their cards. But it's kind of like the vibe that I get here is, and this is something that you're not aware of, and it may not even make sense, but I'm just throwing it out here because it'll make sense one day. How I said going from one side of the Likert scale to the other, the realization that you're going to have in reference to yourself in this partnership is that fact. It's the fact of going from one Likert scale to like one side of the Likert scale to the other, but it's still the same Likert scale. So meaning that within the context of the stance you took to hold space with this person, it's like two sides of one coin. So it's like where you are now and where you were when you were taking that previous stance are still the same energy vibration. It's just two different manifestations of the same thing. And I'm pretty sure that that just broke somebody's brain out there. Some of y'all know what I mean. If you don't, it's totally okay. I'll revisit it if this comes up in their cards. But it's more or less like a spiritual lesson thing that I'm seeing that's coming up in this, because it's almost like I mean, if people take offense to this, I can't, what can I do? That's a choice. Anyway, it's almost in a sense of like that stance that you took to hold space for the person. It's having a perception that spirit led you to do that. And I'm not saying that that's for everyone. I'm saying if that resonates heavily of like, oh my gosh, that's what I was doing, because that's like I said, like the godly thing or the right thing to do. It's this thought that spirit led you to do that, and it was more self-motivated, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, you know what I mean? But I think where this confusion comes in of why one is feeling trapped and why it's like, you know, I followed the formula or the schematic, I did what I was supposed to do, why is it still not working type of deal? And it's more or less a lesson that exists within this of understanding that it wasn't spirit that said like, you know, allow this person to behave this way and you show them like, you know, unconditional love and that is going to make them change type of deal. But I'll get more into that later because that's convoluted within itself. Anywho, first card for your Sagittarius person, we have the Strength in the reverse. Wow. Then we have the Tower. Ooh, child. And then we have the King of Pentacles. Interesting. So here's the deal. With your Sagittarius person, they're a lot in sensory consciousness. I can tell you that. Meaning that they live in 3D. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as spiritual awareness goes, it's not saying that they're not spiritually aware, but they're driven a great deal by like lusts, desires, and sensory needs, you know, like five senses, like, you know, the first level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you will, you know what I'm saying? Like food, shelter, sex, like just the basic, you know, primal human instincts. With this Tower card, and this is so interesting of what I'm getting with this Tower card. First thing that came to my mind was dead inside. So I feel for the Sag person, it's like, and I mean this figuratively, it's like they're dead inside and they're going through the motions, you know? So it's kind of like when we talk about the Crosswatcher holding space for this person, or trying to show them unconditional love, it's more or less where this person is emotionally for whatever reason. They have difficulty in receiving that. I think on some level or another, there's been some level of restraint that this person has been showing up until now, to where they've been holding themselves back from a lot of behaviors they could have been engaging in, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like, and this is just hypothetical, not saying this is literally happening, but it's kind of like, say if a person, how can I say this? Like if a person was in a relationship, like prior to this, right? And when they were in a relationship with you, they cheated all the time, right? And then like you show them, you stick with them, and you're like, I love you, so I'm going to stay type of deal. And then it's like they feel kind of guilty, and it's like, you know, maybe, you know, I'm not going to be so openly flaunting with sleeping with other people, or I'm going to try not to sleep with other people because I feel guilty, right? But it's like the person doing that, it's restraining themselves, but it's not like a true change, because it's not like an epiphany and understanding of like, oh, wow, this is why, you know, I cheat, because of course other people don't influence us to change. It's like other people can be hurt by a person's behavior. They can tell you that, you know, you're a SHIT person for your behavior. It could be a myriad of different things that a person could tell you, right? However, it's like it requires a person to recognize that, like that thing, and then have a motivation within themselves to change. And when it comes to like other people, another person, even if it hurts them, even if you don't want to hurt them, that's not enough incentive for an individual to change, because it's a lot of work you have to do within in order to actually manifest a true change, right? So I feel like with this person, it's almost kind of like they numb themselves out and you know, to align with the right thing to do, the should, ought, supposed to kind of vibe. You know what I'm saying? But who it is that they really are, because it wasn't a true change that was made. It's what I like to call, this is putting whipped cream on shit. So that's what I call it. But it's more or less like they, you know, restrained themselves. They held back this behavior because they were fitting the mold of what was the expectation someone else had, or what they were supposed to do. But they lacked understanding on what the motivation was behind that behavior. So they just restrain themselves temporarily, right? So that's why I say, like with this Tower card, I'm seeing it slightly different, and it's 444. It's the second time that happened. But I'm seeing this energy slightly different, because I see the Tower usually as a liberation, which, I mean, perspectively, it kind of is, but I'm seeing this more or less as a self-restraint with a lack of change. The tower crumbles, meaning that this is like shock that happens. Um, in reference to this person to you, it could be something just specifically in their life because this is in their line of cards, or it could be something that they did that shocked you, which kind of puts you in the space because it's not understanding how it is that you behave like this when I'm, showing you love, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost the equivalent of releasing the beast, if you will. So this part of themselves within that's been held down and suppressed, for them trying to fit into this mold, this tower happens. And now it's like that beast that's been in the cage has been released. And it's like now they're just back to the same old stuff that they always did. You know what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is, it's not that they're necessarily back to it. It's just that the change has never really occurred. But I still feel this vibe with this Eight of Pentacles on your side and this King of Pentacles here, that it's more or less with you kind of like either going within yourself or physically creating distance because of what it is that's transpired. It's like now this person is like reaching out and you're like numbed out and disassociated, not really understanding what happened, what's going on, how could they do this type of deal. But like I say, this whole wraparound thing is, regardless of what your intentions are, what your approaches are, what you think it is that you're, attempting to show someone, or what's motivating you, what's inspiring you, whatever the case may be, it's like this person is still this person. And this person is who they are, not because of anything you did or didn't do or don't do, So where it becomes this whole 360 perspective is, this person's incentive to change has to be a self-driven initiative. It's like a person hating you or loving you, you know what I'm saying, to any extreme isn't enough to make a person be different. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where a person could hate you, dislike you, think that you're a terrible person, but if you like you, you're not going to change you because a bunch of people or one person doesn't like it, and vice versa. So I feel with this, it's almost like the Crosswatchers internalizing this person's behavior. Like, how could you do this to me? Or, why would you do this? Or after all that I've done, and this doesn't make sense type of deal. And it's like, I understand that, but I feel the thing that's liberating for the Crosswatcher is a need to understand that this is something like, this person's issues existed before you, and 9 times out of 10 are going to exist after you. But I feel like with this whole reaching back out type of thing, that's like just a part of a cycle that I feel like you guys have been in. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's the thought of this person like reaching out or saying sorry or whatever. And it's making me think of the cycle of abuse too. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can Google it. I won't do a whole therapeutic lesson right now, but it's making me think that with this person reaching out, and this is a part of a pattern where if something happens and because this person comes back and makes some type of gesture or texts or reaches out, it's this false perception that they've changed somehow. It's like, oh, they've learned their lesson, or they realized, oh gosh, I don't want to lose them, let me change. You know what I'm saying? And it's like kind of letting the person back in. But the whole thing is that this would be behavior modification, but not a true transformation. You know what I'm saying? Because in order to have a true transformation, you have to bring something into your awareness. Like, something has to be made aware to you. You recognize that, you accept that this is what's happening. You know what I'm saying? And then gain like the understanding of how we got here, what's motivating here, what I'm trying to get, like what need I'm trying to fulfill with this behavior, and so on and so forth. But it's like, just trying to modify behavior doesn't create true change. It's not an outside in thing, it's an inside out thing, if that's making sense. So I say all of that to say, from my cross watchers, if in any way, because the two places that I see the most with this Is there some cross watchers who are considering letting this person come back in and thinking that they changed? Or it's you internalizing the fact that this person hasn't. Now, again, with their tower and the strength card in the reverse, they have an opportunity to recognize this little demon, proverbially speaking, that they've been suppressing within themselves. But whether or not they do that is a process within itself. And a person just saying, wow, you know, that was a bad choice I made. Like, I'm not going to do that anymore because I'm not supposed to do that. I shouldn't do that. That hurts people. This isn't, you know, socially acceptable. I'm not going to do that anymore. That's not how you change. You know what I'm saying? If it was that easy, I would totally be out of a job. You know what I'm saying? It's like change is a process. It's not just a thought you have in your head and you use willpower to, you know, to enact it. You know what I'm saying? And those of you who are on Clubhouse, last Tuesday, I talked about that, like with false hope syndrome and like how it is that we try to change, but can't figure out why it is we can't, you know, manifest change in our lives. And it's because a lot of people don't know that it's a multi-step process. And there's already something ingrained into our humanity that is already in opposition to us making a change. You know what I'm saying? So I say all of that to say, don't internalize this person's behavior, cross-watcher. But anywho, I'm going over to my network to do you guys extended reading where we're going to look at how this person thinks and feels about you at present, if you care. You know what I'm saying? So if you're about that life, follow me on over there. You know, but if not, I still love your face. And I will see you guys sooner than later on the network. I should have like a little pizzazzy thing around here. You know, like, share, subscribe. Smash that like button. Subscribe. Notification bell. All that. Love your face.